I still remember the exact words my daughter said because they hit harder than any punch I've ever taken. You'll never see your grandkids again, unless you sign these papers. For a second, I honestly thought she was joking. Then I looked into her eyes and realized she wasn't. That's the moment everything I believed about my family fell apart. If you've ever had someone you raised turn into someone you don't recognize, you're going to understand this story. And if stories about real family betrayal mean something to you, I'd love for you to subscribe to Family Betrayal so you don't miss the next one. One more thing before we go any further. The faces, photos, background clips, and scenes you see throughout this video are only there to help tell the story. They're meant to bring the memories to life, not represent the real people involved. My name is David. I'm 67 years old, retired, and until that afternoon, I believed I'd done a decent job as a father. Maybe I was wrong. My wife, Linda, passed away 6 years earlier after a long fight with cancer. Losing her nearly destroyed me, but my daughter Emily became my reason to keep going. We weren't perfect, but we were close. At least that's what I believed. I babysat my grandkids every Friday. I never missed a birthday. I paid for dance lessons, baseball equipment, school trips, anything they needed. I never kept score because that's what grandparents do. Then Emily married Jason. At first he seemed polite, quiet, respectful. Slowly, almost too slowly to notice, everything changed. Emily stopped calling unless she needed money. Family dinners became rare. The grandkids visited less and less. Whenever I asked if everything was okay, she smiled and said they were just busy. I wanted to believe her. Looking back, I think I was the only one still pretending. 3 weeks before everything exploded, Emily invited me to dinner. She sounded unusually cheerful. Dad, we need to talk about something important. I smiled all day thinking maybe they were expecting another baby. Instead, after dinner, Jason placed a thick envelope on the table. Emily pushed it toward me. We need you to sign these. I frowned. What are they? It's just paperwork. Just paperwork. Those 2 words should have warned me. I opened the folder. Property documents. Power of attorney. Financial authorization forms. My stomach tightened. None of it made sense. Why would I sign this? Jason answered before Emily could. It'll make everyone's future easier. Everyone's. Not mine. Something inside me whispered that this wasn't about helping me. It was about taking control. So I asked for one night to read everything. Jason's smile disappeared. Emily crossed her arms. And then she said the sentence that still echoes in my head today. If you don't sign tomorrow. She looked me straight in the eyes. You'll never see your grandchildren again. I stared at the little girl I once carried on my shoulders and realized I had no idea who she had become. My chest felt tight, but I refused to let them see it. Every instinct told me to argue, to beg, to remind Emily of every bedtime story, every scraped knee I bandaged, every sacrifice her mother and I had made. Instead, I quietly closed the folder and stood up. I'll let you know tomorrow, I said. Jason looked irritated. Emily didn't even hug me when I left. The drive home felt longer than ever. My hands were shaking so badly I had to pull over twice. I kept hearing her words. You'll never see your grandchildren again. That night, I spread every page across my kitchen table. The first few looked harmless, but something didn't add up. The legal language was confusing, and Jason had highlighted only the signature lines. That alone made me suspicious. The next morning, I called an attorney I'd known for years. He agreed to meet me that afternoon. He read every page without saying much. The quieter he became, the more nervous I got. Finally, he looked up and asked, David, did they tell you what these documents actually do? I shook my head. He slid the last page toward me. If you sign this package, you'll be giving them control over nearly everything you own. Your house, your savings, your investments. And this clause here could make it extremely difficult for you to reverse. I felt sick. They told me it was just routine paperwork. He leaned back in his chair. It isn't. I couldn't believe my own daughter had sat across from me and watched me almost sign away everything I'd spent 40 years building. The attorney wasn't finished. There's something else. He pointed to another section buried in the documents. If you're ever declared medically unable to manage your affairs, Jason, not Emily, would have complete authority over your finances. I stared at him. Jason. He nodded. That's how these papers are written. Suddenly, dozens of memories rushed back. Jason insisting on knowing my account balances, asking whether my house was paid off, bringing up retirement investments during family dinners. I had brushed it all off as casual conversation. Now it looked like planning. The attorney advised me not to contact them until we gathered more information. 2 days later, my phone rang. It was my oldest grandson. His voice was barely above a whisper. "Grandpa, Mom said we're not allowed to call you anymore." Before I could answer, someone grabbed the phone. The line went dead. I sat there staring at the screen, my heart breaking in a way I never thought possible. That evening, Emily sent one text. "Last chance. Sign tomorrow, or we're done forever." I looked at the stack of papers one more time. Then my eyes landed on the very last page. A single sentence hidden near the bottom changed everything. And instead of feeling defeated, I smiled. I read that last page 3 times just to make sure I wasn't imagining it. Buried near the bottom was a clause Jason clearly hoped I'd never notice. If I refused to sign, every unsigned copy had to be returned to the law office that prepared the documents. My attorney recognized the firm's name immediately. "I know one of the partners," he said. "Let's ask a few questions." The next morning, we walked into that office carrying the entire folder. The attorney who drafted the paperwork looked genuinely confused when he saw me. "I thought your daughter said you had already agreed to everything," he said. I felt my stomach drop. "I never agreed to any of this." His expression changed instantly. He explained that he had prepared the documents based on information Jason and Emily had provided. They had claimed I wanted to simplify my estate and voluntarily transfer control while I was still healthy. "I specifically instructed them that you should receive independent legal advice before signing," he added. They had never mentioned that part. As we talked, another surprise surfaced. The firm still had emails, meeting notes, and recorded appointment logs. Every conversation showed that Jason had been leading the process, while Emily mostly stayed silent. For the first time, I wondered if my daughter had been manipulated or if she had willingly gone along with it. That question haunted me. A few days later, my attorney helped me update my estate plan. I created a trust that protected everything I'd worked for, but it also ensured my grandchildren would be cared for someday, without anyone else controlling the money. Jason would never touch a dollar. Then I waited. Sure enough, Emily called. Her voice sounded unusually warm. "So, did you sign?" I calmly answered, "No." Silence. Then Jason's voice exploded through the speaker. "You don't trust your own family?" I took a deep breath. "No. I don't trust anyone who tries to pressure me into signing documents by threatening my relationship with my grandchildren." Neither of them spoke. "Can I ask you something? If your own child gave you that kind of ultimatum, would you give in, or would you walk away?" A week later, they invited me over one final time. They said they wanted to clear the air. But when I pulled into their driveway and saw 3 unfamiliar cars parked outside, I realized this wasn't going to be a family conversation at all. It felt like an ambush. And what happened inside that house changed my family forever.